Hello everyone, today we're going to be talking about the upcoming animated series Spider-Man Freshman Year. So let's get into it. Starting off with where the show fits within the MCU timeline. So it's going to be taking place 6 months before Civil War, meaning that we'll see Tom's Spider-Man get bit by the spider and Uncle Ben die, the typical Spider-Man origin, and we'll see him come to grips with his new powers. We'll also see him create the homemade suit for the first time, which is his first ever suit that he uses. Well, maybe, we don't know. He could make another suit before the homemade suit, but we'll see all the typical Spider-Man origin stuff: the suit making, the web shooters, the Uncle Ben dying, the wrestling match, the spider bite, everything. We'll see it all. This is MCU Spider-Man's origin. Now for the villains, we really do not know who he could face up against, because Green Goblin and Doc Ock are off the table as they were in No Way Home and it wasn't even his universes, Green Goblin and Doc Ock, and he never states in No Way Home that he knows of him, so meaning that they don't exist in his universe at this point. Vulture isn't an option because Vulture isn't even Vulture yet. So my theory is the villains will probably be like street level villains, like more like Kingpin sending out goons on the streets, ruining New York with crime, and that's where Spider-Man comes in. So it'll probably just be street level crime. There probably won't be an overarching villain, which I'm okay with because Spider-Man's just starting out, so it makes sense. As for returning characters, we'll see Ned, we'll see Liz, we'll see MJ, and we'll see obviously Flash, pretty much everyone that was in Homecoming, everyone in the school anyway, the teachers. But because it's an animated show, we won't see or hear Tom Holland anyway, because Tom Holland has stated that he wants to take a break from Spider-Man, so they'll probably get a different voice actor to voice Peter. I'm hoping, please bring back Josh Keaton. He is the best Spider-Man voice actor ever.
So you'll rob the piggy bank but won't touch the cookie jar. Wow, you must qualify for Nephew of the Year. Twisted Division. Spider-Man!
The MCU controversially has been known to change many aspects of the origin story of many characters, and more likely than not they're probably going to change a few things of Spider-Man's origin, and I have a feeling, although we will hear and see and have a mention of Uncle Ben, I feel like they'll change the impact it'll have on Peter, because when Toby and Andrew brought it up in No Way Home, it seemed like Tom didn't really resonate with them two when they mentioned Uncle Ben, meaning that Uncle Ben in the MCU probably didn't have as much as an impact, and maybe Aunt May's death in No Way Home was meant to be that Uncle Ben moment for Tom's Peter. So I have a feeling that in this freshman year show we'll have a mention of Ben, but it won't be as impactful as typical Uncle Ben stories. And when he gets bit by the spider, I feel like they'll change that to, instead of being bit at Oscorp, it'll be bit at like some sort of research lab or something. But this is where we'll probably see him fanboying over the Avengers for the first time, like he always does. That's really fucking annoying when he does that, by the way.
So Mr. Stark was like, "Hey, Underoos," and I just sort of flipped in.
Moving back onto the topic of villains, the only two villains that I can maybe see in this show is Kingpin and Black Cat. Now I say Black Cat because she's quite a street level villain, and she's not really a villain, and I feel like that'd be a nice like first test for Spider-Man, you know, chasing her along the rooftops and like catching her out on robberies and stuff like that. And Kingpin could be the one sending her out, and obviously Spider-Man is trying to figure that out, but because he's only 6 months into his career, he has no clue, he has no tech, he just doesn't know what to do. One thing I really want to see is some more high school scenes with Peter. So once he gets his powers, Flash keeps bullying him and he does the typical like bully the bully, and like, you know, he's using his powers against Flash. I want to see some more high school scenes, and maybe even before he gets bit, like just see him get bullied because he's like a nerd, and like I feel like that'll add a lot of depth to Tom's Peter, because although I do like the MCU Spider-Man films, I feel like in terms of Peter Parker anyway, he's a bit too, I don't know, he just doesn't really get hassled as much as the other two. Now of course, because it's his first time as Spider-Man, we're obviously going to be seeing him making many mistakes. It'll be a lot of trial and error with his superpowers, so I want to see how that affects Peter and like whether he wants to carry on or wants to give up at that moment in time. One thing we'll see is him coming up with his new superhero identity and how he keeps it a secret, and we'll see how he hides it from certain characters such as Aunt May and Ned. And obviously I reckon there'll be a lot of moments in the show where we see him almost get caught because he's still new to the whole thing. Now as for the release date of the show, we don't know. They didn't reveal a release date, but my guess is by the end of this year we'll get another announcement, and that's when we'll know about the release date. And I reckon they'll release the show around maybe end of 2023 on Disney Plus. But with all that being said, that is the end of the video, so make sure you like and subscribe because we are almost at 1,000 subscribers, which is insane. So thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.